Hi, I hope you're doing great. My name is Ana Cecilia Reyes Valderrama, and I was a student in the class Historical Analysis of the International System with professors Robert and Daniel. This is my evidence three, the portfolio of my competences, where I should tell you what I think and how I developed during this course. Well, first, we need to understand that we have two main competences that are conflict management and reasoning for complexity. But inside of them, we have subcompetences. In the first one, in conflict management, we have two, analysis of international conflicts and choice of management models. And in the reasoning for complexity, we have one that is systemic thinking. I will analyze all my homeworks and see the grade I have in each one. So first is the research paper. In this research paper, I put the first subcompetence, analysis of international conflicts, in blue. Throughout this presentation, the colors will be the same. The next one of choice of management models in green, and the last one, systemic thinking, in red. What I did here is trying to put the color where I could see that we applied or that I applied the subcompetence throughout the research document. For example, the first one is analysis of international conflict, but it's also the causes, the consequences, actors involved, the interests, the positions. And in the document, we can see that we were trying to talk about how Donald Trump and well, historically, USA has constructed like this enemy, and then right now Donald Trump is doing the same with the cartels and designating them as terrorist groups. So we can see throughout the whole document, for example, here or here, that I categorized with different colors to have a better understanding. Then we have this is the historical part. That's why it's all in blue because it's the causes mainly. But we can see also for the second one that is choice of management models, we were capable of evaluating the solutions that were given in the past for previous enemies, no? Like for example for communists or etc. But I put an 85 because I think that we didn't provide like a solution, a conflict resolution for this specific issue. So that's why I put an 85. And in the other one, systemic thinking, well, we put authors like Hannah Arendt or Cory Robin that we based the whole research on his stages of creating an enemy, and we also used Hobbes, etc. That's why I put it like that. Then the second was the audiovisual presentation. We talked about the evolution of secret diplomacy, and well, basically, I did the same in this document. First, we started with causes and consequences and everything for Mary Queen of Scots, and that's why I put 100 over there because we explained all the actors that were involved during the conflict. Then, for example, for systemic thinking, we used Charles Tilly, we used realism, constructivism, and different theories, like for example, also principles of the Renaissance and Morgenthau to explain how all these actions were kind of justified. So that's why we did here, and I put 100 in each of those, and I put a 96 in the choice of management models because we were able to explain how in the past the solutions were essential for each case, but we weren't like super in depth in that wasn't like the specific document that we did. But still, we try to apply criticism to the solutions and explain them, like why did they happen. But as you can see in the whole document, I try to put where you could see the competences. The other activity was our activity four, the specific Cold War study cases. Here, this is the genially that we created for our group. It was amazing because it was a museum, which I think was very creative for the people to remember a little bit what we were talking about. And well, I put here in analysis of international conflict the 100 in the first room because as you can see in the timeline, it is super well made with the causes, with the consequences, with the actors involved. We have here over here each person involved in the war and why they were involved, etc. So that was very good from us, I think. And well, we also have the choice of management models. We were able in this part to categorize why we thought like I don't know why I can go back, but we were able to explain the solutions for that war and for example, the things that the US did. and how it affected after, no? Like what could have been different. For example, this Agent Orange used that has still problems for people, like health problems, but also in their lands and in their agricultural sector, etc. And I put a 95 in systemic thinking because, again, I think the valid we use good like causes, effects, quality of information, but maybe the sources could have been more. I think we use like a good amount of sources, but it could have been more. So I think we should look also through to history through the eyes of the victims, not only the winners. And I think that we kind of went through the more Western mainstream or media. And yes, the next one was the documentary activity. This, as you can see, I did the same with the others. For example, first with the causes, consequences, actors involved, I tried to put here all the actors involved, like UN Security Council, the P5 that are the US, UK, Russia, France, and China, how they do like the strategic or they take strategic decisions, and how that makes the world or certain countries more powerful over others. And for example, I put here like some examples, even. Uh, you can also here see the UN that can offer conflict and assistance, but I also criticize that in order for them to help, there also needs to be like openness from the recipient country, and if that is not there, well, then help can be very, very hard to get. Then in systemic thinking, again, I put the references because the quality of information was good, and also we had a transdisciplinary um, reviews of the topic, and the documentary was very wide and broad. And I also put like causes and consequences of different conflicts. I put the Cyprus and the Turkish and the Greek conflict, or how they took the tanks and painted them white, thinking that would be the solution, which was like really not good for them. So I put 95 in the analysis of international conflicts because my main source was the documentary, and I maybe could have gone further. Also for the solutions applied, I think that the main thing I did was to criticize a little bit the UN and say how right now the legitimacy is very fragile. So they have to shift the perspective and know that if they do something wrong, that will be a lot times more shared than the good things that they are doing. So they have to be very careful as an institution with what things they are doing. And well, a 90 for systemic thinking. Then for the research proposal in the OYET, it was also a very good proposal. I really, really loved to do this project. So I put a 100 in the analysis of international conflicts. Again, I think that we used a lot of history to explain what we were doing. For example, for systemic thinking, I also put 100 because we used, again, these Hobbes and Hannah Arendt and Corey Robin and very, very good sources. We went to the core of fear and like creation of enemies in different scenarios. So I think that was good. And for the choice of management models, I think it was also nice because we saw the relevance of the solutions that have been applied in the past, and also systematized the argument that we were trying to do, for example, in the hypothesis. And overall, I think we did a very good job here. Um, we try to give this not a solution, but this discussion on the approach of how the stigmatization of the Mexican would be changing with this new designation of the cartels as terrorist groups. And well, then I did with the exam the same. I think the choice of management models could not apply here because I didn't evaluate like relevance of solutions. But in the first one, I think it is very clear because causes, consequences, and actors involved. I had all the right answers there because I studied a lot, and there are the themes that we saw. I am very passionate about them, and I really, really read the books and learned the information. And also in the other one, I put a 95 in systemic thinking because I think that I knew all the background, I knew the causes and effects of why things happened. And the ones that I have wrong were very tricky questions, but I accept them. And I put a 95 because one of those questions was regarding the systemic thinking in Italy in the 15th century. So I related it to systemic thinking here. So that's why I put it like that. And well, lastly, the readings. I really enjoy the readings, and I think that they really help me understand the topics. I could not read them all like before the class, but I think that they really help me with the exam, and I read them all before the exam. Chill, I am sorry. And also, I really love the videos in Nearpod. I think it was a very dynamic class, and also the articles that the teacher Daniel told us here. And thank you. I did an average for the whole scores that I gave you because I know it was a lot and it would be hard for you to do them. So for the first subcompetence, that is analysis of international conflicts, I got a 99.1666. Then for the second subcompetence, which is the choice of management models, I got a 92.6. And for the third one, 96.66. So thank you very much. I really enjoyed learning from you and for both Robert and Daniel, because I don't know which of you are seeing this video. I really would like to thank you because I admire you and I admire your brains because you learned a lot of information that I hope in some day I could learn as much as information as you have in your heads. And that you continue to be informed and that you know everything that is happening in the world right now, but also that has happened. So I think that is super, super admirable, and I would like to be like that someday. So thank you very much for being my teachers, and I hope you enjoyed also the class as much as we did. Bye.